we will all at some point in our lives develop anxiety towards something, like a job interview or recording ourselves, and I don't know, first day of a new job, first day of school, you will feel anxious about it. However, feeling anxious about doing something and being diagnosed with a form of anxiety are two very different things. A diagnosis of, for instance, social anxiety just takes the whole anxiousness to a whole other level. It's not like being nervous about a situation such as like a job interview or first day of a job or first day of school. Those things, we tend to be nervous about those just because that's our human reaction to those things, because you're putting yourself out there in front of people and you don't know the outcome of the situation and it might all be a bit different, and it's just normal. You have those nerves. That's a normal thing to experience. However, having anxiety about things that are regular everyday occurrences and things that you do every single day is completely different, and that's where it gets a bit weird. So for me, I will have anxiety about the strangest of things. I can perform on stage in front of a camera, jump on here and record a vlog. I will be getting used to doing more lives soon, but that's something that I'm a little bit more nervous about. But that's fine, that's normal, that's nerves, that's completely different. Anxiety is, so for instance, if I want to record this video, I'll feel a little bit weird about it because it's still quite strange sat talking to myself. But it's the anxiety that I feel when I decide to come and record a video is completely different to the nerves. So for instance, I will, for some strange reason, think that people are listening to me when I'm recording this. Like, Christopher can hear me talking, he's in his bedroom, and although he might listen to what I'm saying sometimes, it's not a big deal, is it? Why does it matter? This video is going to go out to people and they're going to watch it anyway, so why does it matter if someone is listening to what I'm saying now? I don't know. It's a weird... So I get anxiety about that, which is completely ridiculous because, like I just said, people are going to listen to it anyway. It's not like I'm recording a secret diary and no one's going to listen. So that's a weird thing for me, which I just ignore and just get on with it. Because if I listened to that anxiety, I would never get these videos recorded, because there would always be a stupid voice going, oh no, you can't do that because someone will hear you and they'll think you're weird. And so I just ignore it and get on with it, because otherwise, like I say, this wouldn't get done. So that's one of my, that's like the least weird of my anxieties, I think. I have spoken about this previously, and my brain does go off on a weird tangent and it gets paranoid, and I will think of ridiculous situations that make zero sense. I've had the weird one where I've given Christopher a plate of food and he's taken it up to his room, and then suddenly my brain's like, oh my god, he's definitely choking on that food, so you need to go and take it off him right now. And there's a friend of mine, she knows who she is, and she has experienced the same thing with her children, so I'm not alone. But that is a weird thing to think. That is irrational. And yes, okay, people do choke on food, but it's like mashed potatoes or something. It's not like, I mean, he's 16 as well, so it's not like I've handed him a chicken and he's 2 and I've said, there you go, and a bowl of grapes, because apparently a lot of people choke on those as well. It's ridiculous situations that I make up in my head. Another one. The post office. Now, I don't know why, but I have this big thing about going to the post office. I don't know why it freaks me out so much. I think it stems from being a child and going to the post office where I grew up in Thornton. It was always really daunting, and I don't know why. Because it was just this tiny little shop, and it was just a shop and a post office. But I think it was always quite dark, and I don't know, it seemed really like an important place, because I'd go there with my nana and granddad, and there'd always be something important that they had to go. I don't know, maybe they were picking up the pension. That's probably what they would do. That's probably what they would have done back then. And that was obviously an important thing to do. Or they were paying a water bill, or I don't know. They were doing important things. And I always found the post office to be this scary, like the bank from Mary Poppins. That is how I envisaged. That's how the post office was to me. It was the scary bank from Mary Poppins. And that stayed with me forever, apparently. And then when I worked for my mum and dad, when I say worked for my mum and dad, I was basically a gopher. And so I'd be sent off to the post office to send the parcels and, I don't know, pay checks in, I think. Yeah, you do that at a post office. And so I'd be sent off to do all this stuff, but I never knew what I was doing or what I was saying. And it was always like, you must get this, and it has to have this receipt, and it's got to have this written on it, and it's got to be that colour, and that goes with this parcel, and that goes with that parcel. And it was like, oh my God, it's too much information. And it used to freak me out. And then the people behind the counter were always like, and just expected you to know everything. And then, I don't know, it was a lot of pressure, especially when it's like the Mary Poppins bank. So now I still have that anxiety. And it is funny, it's ridiculous. It's funny to me. I know it's not a funny situation. Anxiety is debilitating and horrendous, and it can lead you to not being able to leave the house. And I've been in that situation myself, but I now laugh at my own anxiety because I know how ridiculous it is. In the moment though, it's not ridiculous, and it can be quite scary and terrifying, and you don't know what to do with yourself. And then on top of that, you don't dare say anything about it because you think that people are going to think you're being ridiculous. I've never had that from anybody. It's never been you're being ridiculous, stop being irrational. It's always been supportive. So, but again, the anxiety takes over, and you're like, no, people are going to think you're stupid, so you can't tell anyone what this is about, which is exactly what I'm doing now. So whenever I go to the post office, I have had, not like altercations, but I don't know, some post offices, I'm not going to name the post offices. The one near me is amazing, and the guy that works there is lovely, but I still have the same anxieties when I go there. But another one, which I'm not going to say which one it is, I just feel like the people there are being a little bit arsey, unnecessarily so, and that's put me off ever doing anything in a post office. These things don't need to be made difficult, but they want to make them difficult because, I don't know, maybe they're bored. I don't know. I feel like the post office people have some kind of special post office language that nobody else knows about. And if they just told everybody about it, then lives would be easier and you wouldn't be as anxious about going there. I know this is probably just me that feels like this, but there's so many things behind that counter, and it just feels like it's overwhelming and I don't know what to do with it. And I understand that that's not necessary for me to know what to do with it because I don't work in a post office. Post offices scare me, basically. They are very anxiety-fueled places, I feel. Yes. Now, Another one, and I know I'm not alone in this because I've spoken to people about it. Petrol stations. That was, along with roundabouts, when I was first learning to drive, petrol stations scared the crap out of me. So my driving instructor, one of them, I had 4, took me to petrol stations in order to get rid of my fear of petrol stations. Now, it's not a normal fear, like, I don't know, not what would a normal fear of a petrol station be, that you think it's going to blow up, because that could happen because there's petrol. It's very unlikely. I've never known of a petrol station just randomly blowing up. I'm sure it's happened. However, mine is that petrol pump going to reach all the way around my car if I go to this particular one? So I always have to go to the one, you know, the arrow on your dashboard thing tells you which side the petrol, filling up the petrol thing. What's it called? You know what I mean? The side that you fill the petrol up. Which side's that at? Right, okay, I need to go to this particular petrol pump so that then I don't have to mess around with the hose. Because if it doesn't fit, well then, if it's not long enough to reach, well then I look like a dick and I have to move and go to the other one. And that, it stresses me out so much. It makes me very anxious when I'm going to get petrol, because then I'll pull into the petrol station, I'll see that the petrol pump, like maybe they're all full. And then one person, this always happens, will finish and drive off from the petrol pump that I don't want to use because it's at the wrong side. And so I will then sit for another, what feels like 4 hours, and wait for the person to come out of the shop to drive away in their car that's at the correct petrol pump for me. And then I have all these people behind me thinking, well, she's a knobhead, didn't she? She could have just gone to that one. And I know exactly what they know why I didn't go to that one, because I think that the hose won't reach. And they know it does, because they're then all cockily with their arrogance driving to up to the petrol pump with the hose, and it does reach, and they're like, ha, look at me with my petrol hose that reaches around the car, and you could have done this, but you won't because you're a div. I've done it once, maybe twice. I'll only ever do it if there's someone else in the car with me. If I'm on my own, I won't, because then if it doesn't reach, I can't stand there going, well, it don't fucking reach, does it? So now you look a dick. If there's someone else in the car with me, I can go, well, you told me to go here and it doesn't reach, so it's all your fault, and blame it on them. But otherwise, no, won't do it. So there's that, petrol stations. Also, I have a problem with petrol stations when they have those little hatches that they use after a certain time. And that stresses me out as well, because sometimes I think, well, what if they've closed the doors for some weird reason and I go and try to get in the door and I can't, and it's locked, and oh my God, it freaks me out. It's so stressful. It's ridiculous. But it used to be the same when Christopher used to go to Bingley Grammar School, and if ever I had to go up to the school and go into the reception, they had this stupid frigging door that was locked, and they had an intercom, but there wasn't a normal button to press, and they could see you were there because the window, and they can see you standing there. So they don't just open the door, no, they're like pointing at the intercom, like, press that button that doesn't exist so you can talk to me, even though I know you are and I know why you're here, but I'll just make you stand there and look a dick and like stand 10 feet away from the door, and then they do the buzzer, and then you can't get to the door in time, and it doesn't open and it's locked, and oh my God, it's just a whole thing. I hate those kind of doors. They stress me out. I don't like them. I don't like doors, actually. Do you push them? Does it pull? Is it locked? Is it not locked? When you've got a double door and one of them's locked and one of them isn't, why do that? Have them both to eradicate these ridiculous anxieties. Make everything have arrows and signs so that we know. It's like I'm gonna just car parks at places, especially at car garages. It's already a stressful situation because there's still this weird thing about women taking the cars to garages, and there shouldn't be. but there is. But they never have anywhere to park. It's just this awkward, difficult, you have to manoeuvre your car in some stupid, ridiculous way. It's as though they do it on purpose to make it the most anxiety-fueled situation that they can. And you get all worked up and stressed out and that. I hate that. I want a car park with a parking space that I can just drive into and reverse out again. However, I have found that whenever I go pick my car up from somewhere, they have put it in a position that I can just drive away, and that's nice. There's no need to be faffing about. If you can't drive into a parking space, well then I don't see why. Why would you park in that parking space if you can't just drive into it? All this pissing about with reverse parking and all that crap is pointless. It's a waste of time. If I have to reverse park into a space that I'm not familiar with, I'll just drive round and round and look for somewhere else. I don't care what that makes me sound like, but it is a waste of time having to reverse park. Back to the door thing with the petrol station, or any door in any shop, store, garage, whatever. It has now been made even more difficult to manoeuvre or process or whatever because of COVID. Because now you've got entrances and exits, and that should make things easier. But if it's not fully apparent as you are walking up to the building that this is the entrance, that's the exit, then my brain doesn't like that. I want to know where the entrance is and where the exit is as I'm walking up to the building. I don't want to get up to the building and then be told, oh, you can't use this door, go use the other door. It's ridiculous and annoying and unnecessary. And I know it sounds like I want everything on a silver platter and spelled out to me and written with easy to follow instructions. But unfortunately, that's what an anxiety-riddled brain needs. It needs easy follow instructions, because otherwise it will bring in a load of scenarios that stress the brain out, and soon you'll just have this het up, adrenaline-fueled, crazy person who thinks they're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, when actually the only problem is that they don't know how to open a door. But that's just the long and short of it, really. Crossing the road. Now, I don't mind zebra crossings, they're fine. I'll just walk out onto the road and then the cars stop as they are supposed to. However, the pedestrian controlled crossings. So if I press the button, then it tells then there's a sensor to see that you stood there, and it'll go, okay, yeah, we'll change the lights for you so you can cross the road, thanks. They're fine. I still don't like standing at them because it's uncomfortable, but ordinarily you're not stood there long. However, the traffic controlled ones, Jesus Christ, they were put there just to make anxiety ridden people filled with more anxiety and stress. They take forever once you've pressed that button. And then you have the added annoyance of, so all the cars have stopped, or there's one, so you've got like the four-way, like a crossroads type thing. And then, so you'll have a crossing at each one of the roads, so 4 separate crossings. Yeah. Then you'll have traffic that's going from that side over to here, and then you've got traffic going up and down. And so me stood here waiting to cross, I can't cross because there's still traffic coming. Not that much traffic. I mean, I could cross if I wanted to. Then you've got a car parked here, like right there in front of you, because their light's red, which is so is mine because I'm not allowed to cross yet. But you just stood there looking like a dick, because yes, you could cross, but I think it's illegal. I don't know. But you can't because the red man's there and you can't cross on the red man. But then you just stood there and they're staring at you and they're thinking, I know what they're thinking because I think it myself. I think, why don't you just cross the road? Because there's no cars coming and I can't go anywhere, and just cross. But then as soon as you step out onto the road, it changes and then they'll run you over. And you do that weird thing where you just kind of like stood around looking for something to do, and then suddenly you remember you've got a phone, so you take that out and then you ring someone and you're like, they're not answering, so you kind of go, ugh, and put your phone back in your pocket, and then you start doing something else on your phone just to make it look, because we seem to have this problem where we can't just stand and wait. We've got to be doing something. I think that's just a general problem. I don't think that's necessarily connected with anxiety, but it makes me anxious knowing that these people are watching me, knowing exactly the situation I'm in because they've probably been in it too. And it doesn't fill me with a sense of connection, knowing that other people have been in that situation. It just makes me more anxious knowing that they know how I feel, which is weird because you'd think it would help. But that's not how my brain works, unfortunately, because it's got weird anxiety things in it. I think for now, I have covered many of my anxiety bases. There are so many more, and I will enlighten you with them at another point in time. So, if you have any of these weird anxieties, like post offices, petrol stations, crossings, anything else, please do let me know. And then I can go, oh my God, me too! And we can have a connection, but not feel better that we've both got the same thing because we just think that we're judging each other. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, thanks, bye.